Hi, my name's Phil. I like to talk about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss the apparent panic from the Reform UK chair Zia Yusuf about an article in which it is claimed that Kemi Badenoch may be setting up a Nigel Farage attack unit staffed by disaffected former Farage supporters. But why would Yusuf, and by extension Reform UK, be so concerned about this? But first, for daily political commentary, please hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out. So, Zia Yusuf tweeted out a paragraph from an article in The Independent yesterday. Now, he didn't identify where the article was from because presumably he doesn't want people to read it in full, but Google is our friend. Now, the article itself will not make happy reading for Nigel Farage, sure. It's a long article as well. It began by explaining how he's lost legal ownership of the Brexit Party brand due to, I guess, an administrative cock-up. But that's largely symbolic now. The point the article was trying to make is that he makes mistakes, I guess, that the operation is superficial. Mind you, it does point out that the original owner of the party name, who has it back now after being screwed over by Farage, because she was screwed over by Farage, may register it and stand candidates under the name. Now, would that confuse some voters, splitting the vote? Especially if Reform UK become associated with a load of woke policies, as they sort of are being. The article also talked of which was related to this, these splits emerging in the Reform UK base over the party's attempts to broaden their appeal, which means, of course, distancing themselves explicitly from not just Tommy Robinson, but his supporters as well. Which technically means that anyone who wants to get directly involved in Reform UK must either not support Tommy Robinson, or if they do, not do it publicly. And I've already talked recently about, how this can cause problems at the local level, but Reform UK want to expand, so, it may be strategically necessary. But the paragraph which concerned Yusuf so much was one about Badenoch having been presented with a plan, prepared, we're told, by people from UKIP and former members of Reform UK, disaffected members we might say, for an attack unit which would particularly focus on Nigel Farage. Now, Yusuf could have posted this with some sort of comment along the lines of castigating the Tories for being a bit desperate or being unable to tell a positive story about their offer to the public, just rolling around in the gutter, he could have said. But no, he asked who these people could be presenting this plan and invited people to make suggestions. Now, a tweet like this seems a little bit odd. See, at best, you could interpret it that Yusuf is trying to deride those who are no longer in the party as being bitter and spiteful, but it still pokes at the divisions amongst the base. Right now, as the article says, although Reform are losing members due to the party's stance on Robinson, they are gaining even more. So it's net good for them, right? It's a net benefit for them. But what the article doesn't really ponder is the relative usefulness of certain members. Reform UK charge an incredibly low membership fee. They obviously are prioritising raw numbers. For the headlines, they can say, oh, we've got this many members, over any genuine financial contribution. So, of what use are the members to Reform UK beyond just being able to say they have a lot of members? The prime benefit will be building up their grassroots activists. But those who are going to knock on doors or deliver leaflets, and this involves going out for hours on end, day after day, week after week, in all weathers, they have to be people who are not only have the time to do so, because a lot of people just do not have the time to do that, even if they have the inclination. So they have to have the time to do it, which only so many do. But also they have to be really committed to the cause, because even if you have the time, it's not always a great experience. So it may well be that although the net numbers are positive, Reform may be losing more of those people who are likely to go out actively campaigning in favour of those who are happy to hand over some money but are not really that committed to go out canvassing or leaflet delivering. We will, of course, find out. I think in particular, not so much the local elections this year, because, Reform UK can't reasonably be expected to marshal those numbers so quickly. But I think in 2026 in particular, it'll be very much a baptism of fire for them, because not only will there be a lot of local elections, because, you know, because of the local government changes this year, it's believed that some of them are going to be put back till next year. But there's going to be 2 parliamentary elections in Wales and Scotland as well that Reform UK want to challenge in. So they're going to have a big, well-organised ground game. So Reform's membership strategy will be put to the test then. But the other interpretation of this Yusuf tweet is genuine concern about this Farage attack unit, which the article notes Badenoch has not approved as yet, maybe because the Tories are broke. But why would Yusuf be so concerned? Badenoch has shown herself to be strategically inept. She's had opportunities to attack Reform UK and yet has decided to play the role of tribute band to them instead. The Tories have lost a lot of credibility, and any attacks on Farage could be dismissed as like fake news, being motivated by bitterness at losing relevance. What I've seen from Badenoch, just the same as Sunak, is a Tory leader who seems incapable of even criticising Farage. She keeps trying to come up with reasons why people should vote Conservatives rather than Reform UK, but she can't bring herself to actually criticise Farage. Yet Farage has no problems giving a savage beating the other way. The idea that the Tories would be keen on this attack unit idea when they daren't even criticise Farage in public seems a bit unlikely. And if they did try it, they'd probably half-arse it. So why is this concept even worth noting by the Reform UK chair? Well, because it would be genuinely terrible for them if any attacks on Farage landed heavy blows, because he's mostly all they have. I don't think Reform UK would necessarily collapse in a heap if Farage had to stand back from frontline politics, but it would suffer a great deal. It would likely not grow to the point where they can force the Conservatives to morph into them. It would also be more damaging than for other parties. If any party leader takes a major reputational hit, it is obviously bad for the party. But they have the option, if it's, you know, you go for a bit and it's not recoverable, you have the option of changing the leader. This is obviously a much more unappealing prospect for Reform UK than for other parties. I suppose we can also read into this that Yusuf feels that it is possible that some of these turncoats might actually do something which could damage Farage's reputation. Because it's one thing to try to attack Farage. It's another to land successful blows. Does Yusuf think that his glorious leader is vulnerable to people who used to be part of the fold? He will certainly be more keenly aware of splits emerging in the party than I am. Like, I understand the mechanism by which those cracks will appear. You know, as you broaden the appeal of the party, I've seen it within Labour enough times in my life to understand the link between cause and effect. But we've seen the signs manifesting. There was Elon Musk's outburst. Now, we're told that Farage and Musk are back on side, which I'm prepared to believe. But the outburst was caused by Farage not being extreme enough. And there could be further flashpoints ahead. Now, Farage and Reform UK are adopting a deliberate strategy of pretending to be less extreme in order to build up more support. In private, Farage may be able to explain this to Musk in strategic terms. Explain to him he is going to be the leader of Reform UK. That is all there is to it. Explain to him in order for Reform UK to be successful. And he can say to him in private, in reality, this is what we represent, but we have to adopt this other position in order to be electable. They can even link it with Trump. Trump said he'd make grocery prices cheaper. He's not. He's said it already. He's not going to. So he can just explain to us, we're just doing this for the election. It's not really what we believe. That's fine. Not so easy to do that with the Reform councillors who resigned. Yusuf says they were about to be kicked from the party anyway, but neither version of events is good for them. If those councillors are resigning over Farage's leadership, it's a sign that a lot of the party's more committed supporters are not willing to be pragmatic and accept a softening of positions just to win electoral success. But if they genuinely were about to be kicked out of the parties for breaking the rules and they just came up with an excuse, well, that means Reform UK are quite bad at selecting candidates to represent them. But Yusuf, along with the rest of the party membership, will be discussing discontent from the base on a regular basis. They will know the extent of it. And although it absolutely makes sense to target the richest seam of key voters in target areas, if you actually want to win seats, even if it means losing some of your core supports, particularly in areas where you're not going to win anyway. But you still want to limit that loss of support if possible, because they are still going to be the ones who go out and make your arguments for you at the local level. And do we know that everyone at the top of Reform UK is on the same page here? Like, I think Farage and Yusuf actually are in tune on this idea of broadening appeal in order to really box the Tories in for the next election. But what about the others? Are they happy? The article also talked about Farage saying the UK should probably take Shamima Begum back, which, by the way, of course we should. But this is not something that the typical Reform UK supporter has been conditioned to believe. Are those at the top of Reform UK concerned about the potential of overreaching, to get that broader base? But what if they fail? They've overreached and they've lost a lot of their core support as well. Remember, Reform UK look like they're doing well now. In the polling, it's all very positive for them, due to widespread dissatisfaction with both Labour and the Tories. Now, the Tories can only do limited amounts about their reputation, but Labour are in power. They can deliver, and that delivery will happen. And when it becomes noticed, which won't happen quickly, but it will happen before the election, then those more moderate votes are suddenly going to become harder for Reform to gather for the election itself. But if in attempting to hunt them down, they lose control of too much of their core support, they could find themselves squeezed at both ends, just like the Tories were last year. And is this why Yusuf looks worried? Is it because he understands the risks? But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. If you've enjoyed the video, please click the like button and subscribe for further content. If you'd like to support the channel further, you can click the join button for memberships. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.